Assalamu alaikum everyone. In today's video, we will learn about a contingent contract. What is actually contingent contract? Because we have learned about the valid contract, void contract, what even issue agreements. Now, this is something different. This is contingent contract, and contingent means interlink. Okay, so any contract that has been interlinked with any stuff. Now, what is that stuff? What would be that stuff? Let's read about it. So, according to Section 31, the contingent contract is a contract to do or not to do something. Okay, there's a contract where you're willing to do or you're willing not to do anything if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. Okay, so insurance contract and contracts of indemnity and guarantee provides the best example for contingent contracts. So in short, these are the contracts which are actually interlinked, or you can say collateral or contingent to any event, occurrence of that event or non-occurrence of that event, uh, by which you have promised with someone that you'll gonna act or abstain from doing anything according to the occurrence or non-occurrence of such event is called actually a contingent contract. So uh, there is an example. Let's suppose A makes a contract with B to buy B's horse if A survives C. So the contract cannot be enforced by law until and unless C dies in A's lifetime. Okay. So this is actually called a contingent contract. What are actually the characteristics of a contingent contract? Okay, okay, let me discuss one another example. A contracts to pay B rupees 10,000 if B's house is burned. Okay, this is also a contingent contract because it is depend upon the occurrence of such contract, of such event. Let's suppose because if house will be burned, then A will pay 10,000 rupees to B, otherwise not. So it depends upon the occurrence, and he promised to Mr. B that he will act upon the occurrence of any event. This is the perfect example of contingent contract, and it is like a insurance contract. So, what are the characteristics of contingent contract? When we say the characteristics, the first one is the performance of a contingent contract depends upon the happening or non-happening of some future event, and the event must be collateral to the contract. The event must be certain. Okay, so if any event has been collateral to any contract, then it must be certain. It should not be uncertain. Okay, uh, so and it all depend upon the performance and non-performance of happening or non-happening of an event. We will discuss all types of contingent contract later where these characteristics would be available. Okay, so the first one is the contract contingent upon the happening of an uncertain future event. A contract, the performance of which is contingent on the happening of an uncertain future event cannot be enforced by law unless and until that event has happened. If the event become impossible, such contract become void according to the section 32. Okay, here there is an example that A contracts to pay B a sum of money when B marries C. So if C dies without being married to B, the contract become void. Okay, it will not be become enforceable because there's a destruction of subject matter, and according to section 32 it become void. So contract contingent upon the happening of an uncertain future event will only be enforced if the event will become certain and it will happen, then such contract become enforceable. Otherwise, if it will become impossible, then it will be void. The second one is contracts contingent upon the non-happening of a future event. Okay, a contract, the performance of which is contingent on the non-happening of a certain future event can be enforced when the happening of that event becomes impossible and not before. Section 30T. Okay, in the first one, there's a happening of an uncertain future event. Okay, now in the second one, there's a non-happening of a certain future event. What would be the example here? Agrees to pay B a sum of money if a certain ship does not return. Okay, now the ship is sunk. Now the contract can be enforced when the ship is sink. Okay, this is actually a non-happening of a certain future event. Okay, the where the ship does not return. If ship return, then there is a happening. Okay, if it does not return, this is actually a non-happening of a certain future event. It is certain that if any ship depart, then it will come back. Okay, so there's a contract that if it will not come back, I will pay you that sum of money, and if that ship sink, then the contract become enforceable. Now that promisor has to pay that certain sum of money to the promisee according to Section 33. Now, in another rule, contract contingent upon the future conduct of a living person. If the future event on which a contract is contingent is the way in which a person will act at an unspecified time, the event shall be considered to become impossible when such person does anything which renders it impossible that he should so act within any definite time, otherwise than under further contingencies, according to Section 34. So, if a living person, there is any contract that actually describe the future conduct of any living person, without at any unspecified time. Okay, at any infinite, uh, there is no actual reasonable time. If he or she will act according to the conduct which has been specified within a contract, then the contract becomes enforceable, otherwise not, according to Section 34. What will be the example here? Okay, A agrees to pay B a sum of money, okay, if B marries C. Okay, A will pay the sum of money to B if B marries C. Now the issue is C actually marries to with D. Now the contract is apparently become impossible. Okay, so it may become a void. But in case if D will die, then B will be able to marry C. Then at that time, the contract become valid, and A has to pay that sum of money to Mr. B. So it defines actually the future content of a living person, that is within unspecified time. There is no reasonable time at any time during their life. It will be valid if they act accordingly, according to the Section 34. Okay, the last one is a contract contingent upon the happening of an uncertain and specified event within a fixed time. Okay, here, according to Section 35, contingent contracts to do or not to do anything with if a specified uncertain event happen within a fixed time become void if at the expiration of a time fixed such event has not happened, or it before the time fixed such event becomes impossible. So first, we have to explain here with example, like A promises to pay B a sum of money if a certain ship returns within a year. Okay, now this is actually the contract will be enforced if the ship returns within a year and become void if the ship is burned within a year or sink within a year, or if it does not come within a year due to any reason. Okay, so this is the last one according to the Section 35. Like if specify uncertain event happen within a fixed time, become void. Okay, uncertain why I call it uncertain event, and why I put the example of ship here, because the return of ship is actually certain, but the return of uh, ship return of ship is actually certain, and then uncertainty is that it will not come back, because normally each every ship come back according to their destination route. So here you are actually promising regarding the uncertain specified event, but within a fixed time. However, in the earlier example, there is an uncertain future event, but there is not a fixed time. But here is a fixed time. So within a year, if it will not come back, if it will burn, if it will sink, and due to any reason it will not come back, then such contract become impossible, or you can say void. So according to the section 35, thank you so much. It's all about okay. Now, contracts contingent upon the non-happening of an uncertain event. Okay, here a contract of performance of which is contingent on the non-happening of a specified uncertain event within a fixed time may be enforceable by law when the time fixed has expired and such event has not happened, or if before the expiry of a time it becomes certain that such event will not happen, according to the section 35. Okay, if you have made any contract that actually depend upon the non-happening of an uncertain specify even within a fixed time that you agree that you will do the performance, then they said that it will be enforceable by the law when the time fixed has expired and such event has not happened, or if it become certain that such event that will not happen, according to the section 35. Like, A promise to pay B a sum of money if certain ship does not return within a year, and the contract may be enforced if the ship does not return within a year or is burned within a year, like the same thing. Last one is actually agreement contingent upon impossible events. Contingent agreements to do or not to do anything if an impossible event happens are void, whether the impossibility of the event is known or not to the parties to the agreement at the time when it is made, according to the section 36. So, if any agreement that is contingent upon the impossible event, whether it is under the knowledge of of both parties or not, then such event may be such agreements are actually called as a void agreement, according to section 36. Like, A agrees to pay B rupees 1,000 if two straight lines enclose a space, like intersect with each other, two parallel lines. So the agreement is void because two parallel lines cannot intersect each other. Or you can say A agreed to pay B rupees 1,000 if B will marry A's daughter, C. So C was dead at the time of the agreement. Now the agreement is void because it is impossible even and it is not under the knowledge of the both parties. That's why we call it as a void agreement. So this is all about the contingent contract and its characteristics and its rules. Thank you so much.